Well, hello, everybody. Hello. Do come in. Do come in and pull up a seat by the fire. It's a cheerful one for you tonight. I am well aware that you are very used to being here at 7 o'clock on a Friday evening and being welcomed by one Mr. Ken Adams from Synergy Theatre. Well, I'm afraid that Ken Adams is not here tonight, or should I say, he is there, but you are somewhere else. You see, my friends, through the magic of the holiday season, I have transported you all to good old London town, here in the year of our Lord, 1858. Oh, it's a fine year in London. Industry is teeming and artistry is running through the streets as never before. Most of the fine literature in our time is flowing from the pen of my good friend, Mr. Charles Dickens. Well, since we have the opportunity of being here together tonight, we are going to treat ourselves to some holiday stories. I have a bunch of storytellers lined up, each one to regale you with a tale that they personally witnessed. Therefore, you must take every word they say as truth. And if you're very lucky, perhaps I'll tell at the end a tale of my own. Now, since our storytellers are rather impish, they have decided that at the beginning of each story, they will ask you to guess a certain element of their story. For example, they might ask you to guess what one of the characters is holding in her hand, or they might ask you to guess a location where the story starts off. Now, if you care to make a guess, which I can almost guarantee you will be correct, then you need to be logged in to your futuristic YouTube device. And that way you can use the interactive chat feature and make your guesses. So I hope if you're out there, you will do just that. You will need to log in to your YouTube account, and that way you can make your guesses so that our storytellers shall be able to see them and see how good you are at guessing. Well, my friends, if there's one thing I know, it's that you don't keep an audience waiting, and therefore, please snuggle up close to someone you love. Put that warm blanket around the lot of you and come close to the fire, for you are just in time for our holiday stories. Our first story shall be introduced to you by a good friend of mine. So let's bring our first storyteller on right now.
Well, hello. I would love to recount to you a tale of a Christmas a few years ago. You see, I was on my way home via carriage. I had been gone for many months when one of the horses pulling my carriage took down an illness, and unfortunately I was caught in a small, quaint town, unremarkable in every way except for one. Can you only guess what this town was known for? Why, I sat there shivering in the cold, thinking of such a reason why a man as myself would be stuck in a town such as this. And of course, that town was known for one thing and one thing only, and that was cheese. You see, it was the cheese capital of England. Well, I wandered into town, whereupon I found one cheese seller still in the streets on the eve of Christmas.
Good day, sir. Would you care for some cheese?
Sir, I'm on my way home, and I have to trouble you. Is there any way that I could procure a horse of some sorts in this silly town of yours?
Actually, there is. I have a horse myself.
Ah, you do? Well, my good fellow, what is your name?
My name is Roger.
Roger. Anything I could do for you so that I may take this horse off your hands?
Well, sir, you can give me 50 pence.
50 pence! Why, that was quite a lot of money and more than I had to my name. So, surely, I told Roger a new idea. Roger, perhaps there's some sort of job you could give me, some sort of help I could offer you, and instead.
Well, sir, being that this is my only horse that I use every day to haul my cheese to and fro my home, you could help me in assisting with the new assignment that I have for my family, and that is I need you to come with me back to my house and tell my daughter that she cannot marry Mr. Chesterfield.
Now, Roger, why are you unable to tell your daughter this yourself?
She is quite stubborn and does not listen to me.
And why ever would she listen to a stranger such as me?
Because you, sir, are a man who seems to be of aristocratic means. Am I wrong?
He was not, and so I followed him through the town and to his home, whereupon we found his daughter sitting by the fireplace.
Penelope, please say hello to our guest here.
Hello, sir.
And a good evening to you, young lady.
Penelope, this fine gentleman here is going to tell you something rather important. Go ahead, sir.
Penelope, you cannot marry Mr. Chesterfield.
You don't even know Mr. Chesterfield. My father must have put you up to that. Of course I will marry him.
Penelope, I have been to many towns across this great country, and this one is not one of the better ones. I assure you there are plenty of men elsewhere to marry who are much better.
You do not know what you're talking about. Mr. Chesterfield is the most marvelous man in the world. We are deeply in love, and we will marry, won't we?
He is a brigand, he is a criminal, and he will drive you into criminal life as well.
He is very romantic.
You see, sir, she is young, and her head is filled with fairy tales.
Roger, may I speak to you over here by the fir bush that you keep in your living quarters?
Of course.
Penelope, if you'd excuse us. Roger, I think we are going about this the wrong way. I think it would be better to go approach Mr. Chesterfield and convince him not to marry your daughter by physical means.
Well, sir, Mr. Chesterfield is quite the man of physical means himself. That might be quite dangerous, but if you think so, sir, let us do it.
Why, Roger, I was a boxer. Once upon a time ago, surely I can handle any man.
Well, sir, if you do this, you can use my horse at any time that you wish.
And so Roger led me through the town to a seedier bit, where there was a tavern with all sorts of rapscallions about, muscular ones, spitting and drinking. And we walked into the tavern, which was loud and noisy. Oh,
Ah.
Why, I'll count!
There's Mr. Chesterfield, right there in the corner, sir.
and so we approached the mysterious Mr. Chesterfield. You there, are you Mr. Chesterfield?
I am, it is. Who
Well,
is that? Who is it that wants to know it is?
Penelope's father.
Well, I see you, sir, but who is this fancy man here in front of me with the red rose in his lapel?
I am his hired muscle.
You are to never come near my daughter again, you criminal.
Roger Rump Willow. For one thing, when your daughter marries me, she shall have a much better surname than Rump Willow. You should be happy that she marries me, for if she doesn't, she will continue to be Penelope Rump Willow, and she will be the brunt of the entire village for the rest of her life. I shall do her a
at
favor.
that point in time that Mr. Chesterfield did an action so dastardly I could have never anticipated it.
Roger, stop now. I shall challenge you to a cheese-making off.
A cheese-making off! It was to be a sight to behold, and so out into the snow we went by a pasture. Mr. Rump Willow and Mr. Chesterfield prepared themselves.
Very well.
Have you heard? There's going to be a cheese making off.
Why, it seemed to be quite the event in this little town. The entire population seemed to gather to watch this cheese making off.
If I win, then you promise never to lay your hands on my daughter again. But if I lose, then you will have her. I will not lose.
If I win, your daughter shall marry me this eve, and it is
Very
the
well.
eve of Christmas, and she shall be my bride.
We
And
have a deal.
you shall give me your best cow.
And so they prepared themselves as a bald man in a cap presided over, the one to decide who would win the cheese making off.
I, the judge.
Apparently
Here,
so.
try one.
Marcus, remember, you owe me one.
Try my slice first.
You made that cheese so fast. It's good cheese.
Yes, I won.
Wait till you taste mine. First of all, I brought my best cow, Maisie. I quickly weaned her of all her fresh milk and made this fresh piece of cheese here. Try this one. Maisie brand.
Pathetic.
I must say, that's the finest cheese I ever eat. I declare the mean man in the hood to be the winner.
No!
Yay!
Oh! Penelope, no!
Did you hear? You shall marry me this evening.
Mr. Primrose, do something, sir.
May I present you with this ring, Penelope? I fabricated it from the hairs from the nipple of my best cheese-making cow. I wove it into a fine braid, and it shall fit your finger perfectly.
Oh, thank you, my
now
dear
my-
love.
My daughter's going to become a criminal now, Mr. Primrose.
Mr. Rumpwillow, perhaps both you and I were thinking a little selfishly. I thought so much that I needed this horse to get home that I was forcing you to help your daughter not marry a man she so clearly loves. Perhaps on this night of Christmas Eve, we can let love triumph for once.
Roger's
There he
speechless.
stood, Mr. Rumpwillow, frozen in consternation, trying to decide, as Mr. Chesterfield spoke.
I shall try and poke him with my finger. This is my good milking finger. It shall do the trick. Oh. Ha. Roger, what do you say?
I have failed, and now my daughter will go into a life of crime. I must leave. I am so distraught.
Oh, Father. Oh, but we aren't going into a life of crime.
No, in fact, we have invented a new cheese, which is currently used in Switzerland. It's full of air bubbles, but we are making one here. We shall call it British cheese.
Penelope, I think it best if you follow me, for your father seems to be in dire straits.
I shall wait for you at the chapel, my love.
So we followed Roger through the town, where we found him climbing atop the bell tower. It seemed that he was about to leap to his death.
Oh, Father, stop! Stop! We are not going to be criminals. We're going to be cheesemakers like you.
Like me?
Oh, Father!
But I caught the man in my hands. He was quite heavy from all the cheese he consumed throughout the years, but I laid him softly upon the snow bank.
Mr. Primrose, sir, you saved me. Penelope, my sweet girl.
Yes, Father?
You are going to be a cheesemaker, you say?
Yes, please give our marriage your blessing.
And it appeared he had frozen once more, for the cold in the town was ever so frigid. Until Mr. Chesterfield came.
Penelope, I heard someone scream. Is everything okay, my love?
Everything is all right. My father fell from the bell tower, but this gentleman caught him, and I had just asked my father to bless our marriage. Oh, Father, will you?
My blessing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
That's
sir.
the best gift we could ever get.
As a gift,
So, Mr. Chesterfield finished.
I would like to gift you, Mr. Rumpwillow, with a recipe from the Chesterfield Farms. This is our most delicious cheese. I share it with you as we will now join families. I see you are speechless with this offer, but I know when you wake up, you will enjoy it.
And his mouth was so filled with cheese he could barely speak. But ever since that Christmas Eve, I had adored that small town, and I returned each year on the eve of Christmas with my own family to indulge in the cheese of the conjoined Rumpwillow and Chesterfield clan. And that is the end.
Gather round, for I have a very dear Christmas story to tell you all. Let me take you back to that day. It was a week before Christmas, and snow covered the streets of London. There were blankets of it everywhere. It was frigid, and it had been a year without a big harvest. Therefore, everybody had hunger in their bellies. I was a young lass of about 17, and I accompanied my cousin of the same age, young Jiminy. We were in the streets of London searching for a gift. Now, Jiminy was searching for a gift for his beloved. Can you guess what sort of gift he was looking for? What did his beloved covet the most? Can you guess, my dear listeners? Let us see. And it was truly a very tough year. I bet she wanted a lot. Yes, you have guessed correctly. His beloved most coveted a locket. So Jiminy and I were in the streets of London searching for a locket which we could afford. Jiminy, I'm afraid we won't be able to find anything.
Oh, Liza, I've been looking everywhere for you. I'm starving, though, and I can't see much of anything through this snow. What shall we do? If I go another block, I think I shall die of hunger.
Jiminy, is it wise to buy your beloved girlfriend such an important, expensive locket at the expense of your own food?
Yes, because if I don't, she shall leave me forever, and I think I shall die a worse death than if I starved.
Well, in that case, I do know of a place where we might be able to find a locket for low cost.
But you do understand, Lizzie, the locket must be so special. I am remembering a locket that belonged to my mother and father. It had filigree on the sides, and it was rose gold and gorgeous. That's the one I am looking for. I know it's here. I can feel it in my bones.
Well, just ahead, I see a pawn shop. Let us go in there and see if we can find that locket.
Oh, it would be the perfect Christmas.
And so Jiminy and I crept through the street, and burrowing ourselves through the snow, we finally were able to push open this door of a pawn shop. This pawn shop seemed like it had not seen a customer in many months. And in there was a strange man picking his teeth. Hello, good sir. Excuse me.
Hello, ladies.
I'm a lady, but this is my cousin Jiminy. He's a man.
Yeah, well, I call everyone ladies because it makes me seem more macho, see?
Wow, you're quite handsome.
What brings the two of you in here?
We're looking for something quite special. A locket. It was my mother's. On the back of it, it has the name Jiminy Crick. Have you got one? Could it possibly be here? I feel it. It has filigree on the sides. It's rose gold.
And the shopkeeper seemed to question whether or not to tell us something. He seemed to know. So we asked more. Sir, do you know of this locket?
Yeah, I know of the locket.
Do you have it?
I don't have it, but I know where we could get it.
Oh, and what must we do to get it?
Well, let's just say we're gonna have to break into a place.
I was astounded. You see, that was exactly the reason my cousin Jiminy's parents are no longer with us. They too turned to thievery. So we were scared.
We can't do that. I don't want to go to jail like my parents. They never survived, and neither will we.
But I thought you said your beloved girlfriend was worth it.
I didn't say she was worth jail, but I must have it, so we must stay out of jail, but take us to it quickly before I change my mind.
So we accompanied the shopkeeper into his back room, where he showed us the plans.
See, I got plans to steal all sorts of things, but I need companions like yourselves.
Lizzie, this is going to get us in trouble. We'll never make this.
Well, we must do it. Okay, we'll do it. So he laid out the 3 weapons for us. For Jiminy, it was a lead pipe. For myself, a dagger. And the shopkeeper himself had a very rare and very expensive silver handgun.
Now, we don't got a lot of time, so we got to get there quick.
And so we scurried around and leapt out of the windows of his shop into the snow. Fortunately, there was not anybody else around, for it was so cold and Christmas was coming soon. And so he seemed to guide us into some streets and some back alleys until we came across a little old house in the snow. There was a single stream of smoke rising from the fireplace, and inside we saw a candle.
Now listen, there's an old lady in there, and I'm telling you, we can't wake her. If we do, we're going to have to kill her, see?
Well, we hope not to kill her, so we must be quiet, okay, Jiminy?
You know it's so hard for me to be quiet, but I will do my best.
Hold yourself together, Jiminy. We can do it.
You do it.
This is your love. Your heart is on the line. Not only your heart, but your food.
Push me up to the window.
And so I hoisted her up, and she grabbed onto the fireplace.
I got it.
And she crept in, and there I peeked through the window and saw Jiminy inside, and inside was an old woman sleeping. She snored, and she seemed to stir, but her eyes did not open. She was still asleep. And just then, right as Jiminy grabbed onto some pot of gold and silver, we heard a crash. "Halt there!" a voice said. And in walked a policeman.
What going on here? Oh, trying to rob the lady, are you? Well, I might not be able to get all of you, but I'll get you, you little rascal. Come here, Jimmy. It's off to prison for you, where you'll be spending the next 10 years on the treadmill. Now follow me.
And with that, the police officer grabbed Jiminy and took him off to jail. And that shop owner just disappeared, leaving us to be with this old woman. She was startled. She barely seemed to even realize what had just happened inside of her own home.
What has happened in my own home here?
My dear, ma'am, I'm so sorry. You see, we are starving, and it is Christmas, and our only chance at happiness and prosperity is if my cousin Jiminy would find the love of his dear lady. And I'm so sorry. For that reason, we have demeaned ourselves to steal from you.
My dear young lady, you realize you have broken my window in coming into my small abode, and you could simply have knocked upon my door. Had I heard you, I would have welcomed you in and given you warm whiskey or a hot toddy or a warm biscuit.
Oh, ma'am, I'm so sorry. You are right. I should have just come for help rather than try to steal. What can I ever do to make it up?
My young lady, you do not need to make up anything. Why, bring your young friend here when you can, and please join me for Christmas dinner. I have cooked a small gooseling and some parsnips, which I would love to share. And if there is anything I could help you with, I would be happy to. You simply need to ask.
Why, thank you, ma'am. I could use your help with something.
What is that?
You could come to the prison with me and demand that you will not press charges against my cousin Jiminy, thus releasing him.
Oh, very well. I shall grab my my boots and my cloak and join you. It's cold out. I shall be with you shortly, yes.
Why, thank you. And
Oh.
so this kind elderly woman and I leapt into the street and once again found ourselves in the very brisk cold of London. And in we walked to London's penitentiary.
And you'll stay on that treadmill for the next 10 years, Jiminy.
Oh, Lisa.
Jiminy, we're here. Mr. Policeman, I'm so sorry, but here is the woman whose house we were robbing. And she's come to tell you something.
Hello, sir. You might recognize me from my living space. I remember you. Yes, you were just there. Now let me tell you something. These people were guests in my home. They simply broke a window and they were there for Christmas dinner. You must let him go so that my gooseling does not get cold.
I'm sorry, Mum, but once someone is convicted, then they must serve their sentence.
My dear sir, may I sway you with a lovely bouquet of fresh nosegay, which I have picked from my garden.
Why, Mum, that reminds me of the nosegay my own auntie used to give me before I got lost as a child and swept away by a merchant marine and spent the next 20 years in foreign lands until I worked my way back and became a police officer, hoping one day to... Without your glasses, Auntie, it's me, Reginald.
Reginald! Oh, I know that pate. Oh, Reginald. Oh, let me shine your top.
No.
Oh, my
Auntie,
little
after all these years, I've found you.
Reginald. Oh, my dear boy, I was afraid you were lost at sea and would never return. But certainly you must join us this evening for Christmas dinner.
Well, surely, but there's one thing that I must tell you first, hoping against hope that I would somehow find you today. When I was at the pawn shop taking the full amount of clues from the pawn shop to fully investigate the case, as the pawnbroker was an accomplice, I purchased this locket, hoping to give it to you.
Oh.
And it was the very locket that Jiminy had been searching for.
What a beautiful piece of filigree. Oh, that's lovely, Reginald.
Does it say on the back?
Well,
Does it
here,
say-
Jiminy, why don't you take it since you seem to be so interested in it? What's it to you?
This is the one that belonged to my mother.
Oh, my.
It says Jiminy Creek.
But
Why,
I
what's she-
looked at Jiminy and I pulled him aside to say this. Jiminy, what this woman and this policeman have done for us is a great kindness which we do not deserve. Now, your beloved girlfriend hardly loves you. She is your beloved, but I'm sorry to say, you might not be hers. Now, this woman, I believe, would give us a home and food if we need it and ask, for she is very kind. Do you think we should repay her kindness with the locket?
Oh, yes. I just want to say one thing, though, Lisa. There's a secret little opening here and a picture. Look. It's a picture of you and me.
Well, then, the locket should mean even more to this dear lady. And so Jiminy wrapped it up in his hands and presented it to the woman as a Christmas present.
Thank
My
you,
dear boy.
Thank you for your kindness, mistress.
You are so kind. But oh, it is lovely, and what do I see but the two of you and your name on the back of it? I shall return it in kind, in the understanding that the two of you shall join together, for you are surely meant to be. I return this to you.
And indeed, Jiminy and I were cousins of a very distant nature, so distant that it might not have been relative at all. And so, as it turned out, I was Jiminy's beloved all along. And that is how he and I fell in love at last. And that brings the end to our Christmas tale.
I used to be the groundskeeper for an orphanage in my little town, and the headmaster was Mr. Williams. I had met Mr. Williams one evening, and he came and told me some very sad news. Can you please guess what that news was that he shared with me? The sad news that Mr. Williams had shared with me was, yes, the kitchen had burned down. So,
Yes, groundskeeper, I have some terrible news to share with you. It seems that our kitchen has burned down.
This is awful news, Mr. Williams. How are we supposed to feed the children?
That is a great consternation, sir. But I'm afraid this news shall weigh even heavier upon you than upon those children. For without the kitchen, I'm afraid I will not be able to charge the parents any type of significant tuition. And therefore, sir, I'm afraid I am going to have to relieve you of your service here.
But the children love me, Mr. Williams, and I love them.
And I esteem you as a friend. But what am I to do? I have spent 50 years of my life building this establishment, only to have it destroyed by fire. And I myself shall soon find myself scrounging for bread.
At that moment, I realized that there was a wealthy heiress who had recently moved into our little town. Therefore, I made this offer to Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, I heard there's a wonderful woman came to our town, a benefactor of a lot of money. Perhaps you and I shall pay a visit to her and ask for a donation.
What do you know of this woman?
Well, I know that she is the heiress of the Cambridge Institute. And as you know, Mr. Williams, the Cambridge Institute, you know it better than I myself.
Yes, take me to her.
And with those words, we quickly hurried our way to her front door, knocking not once, not twice, but thrice.
Is that knocking at my door?
Mrs. Cambridge, I presume.
Oh, yes. Come in. I am Mrs. Cambridge. Who do I owe the pleasure?
This is Mr. Williams. He is the headmaster at Oak Brook Orphanage.
Pleased, I'm sure. Won't you come in? I shall get you some tea and you can tell me what your business is.
Well, you see, I, as you understand, am the headmaster at this orphanage. But now the truth must come out. All of these years, I have known where all of the parents of these orphans are, and I have been charging them tuition to stay at the orphanage because they didn't want to raise their own children. Yes, I was even keeping this a secret from you, sir, but as it slipped out earlier in our conversation, I have no choice but to make a full airing of it here.
Why, you awful man! I snap you! Now, why do you come to my gracious home and tell me of your horrible crime?
Because it is the holiday season, ma'am, and Christmas is soon upon us. It's true, I have lived a sinful life, keeping all of these children away from their parents. But you must understand, it was the parents who wished to be rid of them. I was only the vile middleman.
I say the vile middleman of a vile perpetuity.
Yes.
I do not have forgiveness for you, sir.
But now, you see, I was punished by divine retribution. I understand now that it was heaven itself who burned down that kitchen, forcing me to confront my sin and reclaim my better nature to save those poor children who nonetheless shall starve if help is not found.
Yes, miss, please forgive the sins of Williams here, but the children are the innocent ones.
Won't you test me, madam? Won't you test my soul to see if I am worthy of your beneficence?
Well, I will tell you, sir, I am not a priest, nor am I God to be able to forgive you. But I do have a definite soft spot in my heart for the children. The poor children, be they orphaned, parentless, or victims of crime. And therefore I am willing to do what it will take to help the children.
Then,
but it's not for you.
Will you kindly make a donation of £500?
And she did. And upon receiving the money, Mr. Williams greatly thanked Mrs. Cambridge, and we were off.
Thank
and I
you.
followed with.
Thank you so much, my dear. You shall not be disappointed in me. My good friend, come with me. We shall.
I shall hold you to your word. Now, goodbye.
Yes, goodbye. My good friend, come. There is someone I wish you to meet, a friend of mine named Geraldine, a woman with whom I have some acquaintance. Her house is down this street.
And we made our way to Geraldine's home. She opened the door.
Geraldine, my darling, it worked like a charm, and we bamboozled that old fool out of £500.
Oh, Aloysius, what a wonderful plan.
Mr. Williams!
What is the matter, sir?
The devil himself! It was probably you who set fire to the kitchen, was it not?
Well, of course it was. I thought you knew. I thought in the beginning we were simply role-playing in case the authorities were listening. Do you
Aloysius, my dear, what a wonderful scheme. And now we can take the money and take the trips and buy the jewels that you have promised me.
Darling, I shall shower you in gold. But it appears we have a problem that must be dealt with first. Why don't you lock your door?
What is the meaning of this? And she locked the door, and they both looked at me with eyes filled with rage.
Well, sir, clearly we can't allow you to leave these premises. For you, we'll go right to the police.
Of course I will. Open the door immediately. I must report you now.
But I shall make sure you do not. Come, sit in this chair and let me tie you up with this Christmas yarn.
Unhand me, you fiend! And tied me up he did, a knot with which I was never able to unravel myself.
Oh, Aloysius dear, shall we finish him off?
I say we allow him to live just long enough to hear our plans, so he will know how we plan to spend the money, my love.
Ah, you are so clever.
I say we begin with a trip around the world on a yacht that I shall purchase.
And more jewels for me, like this lovely bracelet that you gave me from the money you got from those orphans, parrots.
And then, my dear, you and I shall finally wed.
Ah, yes, because you will have given me everything you promised, and that means you are definitely the man I love.
Unhand me! This is unspeakable, unconscionable.
My dear, just one point of clarification. If I was unable to give you all the money that I now have, surely you would love me still.
Certainly, I would love you. I just would not still be your partner in crime, so to speak.
Are you saying you would not marry me if I was
Of course not. What, only a fool would marry a man who doesn't have any money. Even you would know that.
Right, of course. I'm no sap, you know. Well, why don't we retire to our chamber? I say we leave him in this chair to listen to the noise that shall float out of our room.
I can't use this yet. I've been so looking forward to it.
In the morning, my dear, in the morning.
All right, my love.
And the sap he was, for he actually had lost the money. And I see Geraldine came to me in the middle of the night. Unhand me, Geraldine.
Why should I unhand you? I thought I would play with you.
Because he probably is lying to both of us.
Lying to both of us? Why, he loves me.
If he loves you, then why would he put you in this precarious situation? That's when Mr. Williams came barging in.
I can't let it happen. I knew that you were nefarious enough to go behind my back and menace this man when we had agreed to wait till morning.
Oh, darling, it was just so tempting. Please forgive me.
I can't help but to forgive you. Give me the knife. I shall release his bonds so that we can let him run around the room as you throw knives at him.
Oh, that sounds like fun, Aloysius. Here is the knife.
And now, you heartless harpy, listen here. I've been a fool. I slaved for you. I cheated those parents for you. I sold my soul to get what you demanded of me in the fool's hope that you would one day love me. But oh, what a fool I've been.
But Aloysius, I do love you, dear.
You're a liar. Love comes not at a price tag, but it is given for free. Sir, I cut your binds. Quickly, pull the yarn and tie her to the chair.
They tied it to the chair, and who came rapping it? Oh, you were about to say something, sir.
Only that if that sweet woman ever crossed my path again who gave me this money, I shall return it all and do my time in prison where I belong.
Luckily, Mrs. Cambridge came right then and there.
Hello?
I opened
Hello?
the door. Mrs. Cambridge.
Oh, I followed you. I got lost, but you forgot one of your pence, and I wanted to make sure the children had enough money.
Ma'am, please untie me. These terrible men have been menacing me. I am but an innocent here.
And that is what Mr. Williams confessed.
Mrs. Cambridge, the woman that you are looking at here is none other than Ruby Adamowski.
Not really, Adamowski, the infamous criminal of London.
Yes, Ruby Adamowski, the notorious woman who has escaped from the hangman's noose more than once. Now, the truth is I meant to cheat you of this money, for it was I who burned down the orphanage. But realizing that all the gold in all the world would not buy my love, I have realized that I have been a fool. Take this money, do with it what you will, and call the authorities to take me away.
And the
Oh,
authorities came.
Aloysius, I love you.
But it was too late. Her confession of true love was too late, for the authorities came and arrested them both. Mrs. Cambridge, she went off and reopened it even more grandeur than we could have ever imagined. And the children lived a happy life to find new homes. And that concludes our tale. The end.
Well, 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 it's me again, Bartholomew Clump. And I have the final tale to tell you. My tale begins the day before Christmas. And my tale has to do with the plight of a family so poor and destitute that even heaven had often forgot to look in on them. I know this family well because I was a member of it. I was the uncle to my dear, sweet niece, Evelyn. Now, Evelyn, as children often do, had a strange aversion to something that prevented her from making friends. Can you guess, my reader, what it is that Evelyn had an aversion to? I'm sure you can think back to your own childhood aversions, for so many of them are universal. And when you discover that aversion that you had yourself, I can only imagine it will be the aversion that poor Evelyn suffered from. And yes, Dana has guessed it correctly. Poor Evelyn had an aversion to smiles, and therefore, as she and her mother and I sat in our one-room shack, with me standing off in the corner, trying to allow the poor dears as much privacy as I could, I would watch mother and daughter fight with their inability to share a smile.
Evelyn, You're never going to catch a man to get you out of this mess if you don't put a smile on your face.
Oh, but Mother, I hate them. I don't like seeing people's teeth very much, and I hate that happy look on their face.
Well, it's the only way you're going to attract anybody, so you need to learn. So just take a look at my face and see if you can handle it.
No!
Try again without the grimace and the screech.
No! If you wish me to smile, I'll leave. I never will smile. I'll live on the streets rather than smile at you, Mother.
You're so insolent. I'm going to throw you out because you're not even bringing in a loaf of bread. Or a penny.
Yeah, I say here, dear sister, how could you be so cross at such a charming little girl? I could not hold it in any longer, you see, and so I burst from the corner with that impertinent exclamation.
Well, look at her face. How can you even say that that's a sweet little girl? Look at her. Give her a smile and see what happens.
What happened to you, sister? You were once a kind-hearted woman.
Because I'm hungry and I'm penniless. I used to have riches. I used to have everything anyone could ask for, and now look at us. I've got this child that can't even put a smile on her face to bring in tuppence.
Fine, then. If you really care to throw that dear girl out onto the street, then you shall throw me out with her.
Well, good riddance then, and watch your leave when I do this.
No, I'm leaving now. Come on, Uncle, let's go.
And so Evelyn ran off without even so much as an extra pinafore. We ran as fast as we could until at last we found ourselves far from the city and in the woods of a country area unknown to us. Please, Evelyn, child, let us sit here beneath this tree and take our rest.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Uncle.
You know, Evelyn, I did not run out quite as hasty as I pretended, and certainly not hasty enough to forego taking this nice loaf of bread with me. Come, let us slake our hunger on this bread.
Okay. Uncle, I don't want to smile. I don't want to make friends because I can't afford to have friends.
I don't understand. Why, child?
Having friends is a lot of work, and I've seen what my mum went through when she had lots of friends. That's why we're penniless now. I don't want to have friends. I don't want anybody to like me. I just want to be on my own. That way I don't have to take care of anyone or ever have any friends who I could disappoint, just like I've disappointed my mum.
You know, Evelyn, your father's death was not your fault.
How could it not be? I smiled at him when he was riding his brand new bicycle. The big Wayfarer bicycle that he saved for me. And I smiled at him and it distracted him. And that's how he died, because he didn't see that horse coming.
Evelyn, darling, we are not responsible for the accidents of the world. In fact, there is only one force responsible for all that happens in the world. Look up, Evelyn, look up into that nighttime sky and gaze at the force responsible. Surely you don't claim to be as powerful as he.
No, but he's very powerful, and I don't think he likes me very much. Because he gave me a mean mum, and he made my dad die. How about that?
You watch your tongue, child. The Lord above loves all his children. Perhaps he loved your father so much that he could not bear to be separated from him.
But I loved him more, and I'm separated from him.
I will say one thing more, child, and then I shall accompany you wherever you wish to lead me. And that is, if the good Lord above did not wish you to smile, he would not have made you so pretty when you do so.
I still don't want to smile.
And she did not smile that night. Instead, she curled herself up like a poor cast-off kitten and snuggled against my greatcoat as the two of us fell asleep beneath that tree. When we awoke, there was a kindly face looking down on us.
Was me? Sir?
Oh, Evelyn, dear, do wake up. Oh, forgive me. I didn't realize we were in a private yard, Mom.
Why, sir, you're not in a private yard. I was taking a little walk in the woods, and I saw the two of you, and you looked so cold and uncomfortable. And, oh, child, you have such a frown on your face. I was just wondering if I could be of any help.
Well, as a matter of fact, we did leave our premises in quite a one-way direction, and I'm afraid without a return invitation. We left so hastily we have no food or money with which to procure any.
Well, I can certainly offer you a bite to eat, but I am a woman of very simple means. But I'm so struck by the beauty of you, child. But first, here, have a biscuit. Here, darling, have a biscuit, young one.
Do eat, Evelyn, please, child.
Evelyn, is that your name?
Yes.
Well, I don't mean to be too forthright, but when I happen to have a neighbor who loves to dress young girls in her fashions that she sews, and this is how she sells her wares to make money. And she told me just the other day that she was looking for a young girl of beauteous face to wear the clothes and walk around the neighborhood, smiling to show what joy these clothes bring. And my understanding is that she will not only donate an outfit, but some money for your time, and you seem like you could use it.
Evelyn?
It sounds scary. I don't want to smile, but if it means that I'll never have to go back to Mum again, if
But
I
why
can
don't
make
you
money
want
on my own.
And so, at once, the kindly woman took us to her friend, the seamstress.
Come meet my neighbor.
Oh, Lois, she's adorable.
Isn't she beautiful?
Oh, she's just perfect. Oh, darling, come over here. Let me have a good look at your face. Oh, you are stunning. Quick, look over to the left and then to the right, just a little bit. Now, darling, when you look at me, I want you to curl up your face, reverse the frown, and just for 1 minute, think about something that makes you happy, where your eyes sparkle and roses grow at your feet and sparrows fly around your head. Can you picture that, my darling?
None of that stuff makes me happy. The only thing that makes me happy is thinking about my late father.
Oh, tell us about your father.
Do tell us about him.
He was a good man and he died because God killed him.
Evelyn.
Oh no, that can't possibly be true.
Yes,
Who
it's
was
true.
your father, my young one?
He was a good man, and God hated him, and God hates me, and I'm running away. I'm never coming back.
She took off and ran so fast and so far that it was all I could do to see in which direction she went. I was not an entirely young man at the time, and it was all I could do to run after her, huffing and puffing, until at last I found her by the bank of a river, crying hysterical sobs, preparing to throw her dear little self into the water. I tackled her to the ground and held her by the shoulders. You stop it right now!
Oh, Uncle, I'm so sad. I don't think there's anything good in this world to live for.
And just then, and this is the part that you will just have to believe, just then, the ghost of Evelyn's father appeared before us.
Papa, is that you?
Ev, it is me.
Papa, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I smiled and distracted you and that you died. I'm so sorry.
My sweet dear, it wasn't your fault.
What should I do? There's nothing left here without you. Mum's mean.
Evie, there's so much good in the world brimming on Christmas time. You only have to look to it. Like this man here. He seems like he might have your best intentions in heart.
Are you saying I should open up my heart and love him as a father like I did you?
Oh, my dear girl, I hadn't dared hope.
Uncle, would you be like my father?
I shall never be half the man your father was, but I swear to you, beneath God, that I shall love you with all my heart.
I must go now. Live a good life. Hug, laugh, and smile.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Uncle. I love you and Merry Christmas.
My dear girl, how wide can you smile? And her smile was so wide and so bright that it caught the glint of the full moon above our heads and reflected up to the sky. And I tell you that each time you look into the sky and you see a star twinkling, you are seeing the reflected light of my dear daughter, my adopted daughter and dearest love, sweet Evelyn. The very next night, she and I found quarters together. And then on Christmas Eve, we went out into a nearby wood and cut down a humble tree, which we decorated. That, as I told you, was many, many years ago. But she still comes by each Christmas, now a married woman of her own with children, and the whole lot of them come by, and we celebrate God's miracles together. And as I kiss her on her forehead and put her to bed, I say to her what I shall now say to you. Good night, and Merry, Merry Christmas. our show, ladies and gentlemen. It's really me, Ken Adams. I am Ken Adams. It was just a disguise. Thank you all so much for being here. Yes, Griffin, it was me the whole time. I know. On the count of 3, let's all take a bow for the audience. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. My friends, thank you so much for being here to celebrate the holidays with us. We are going to be taking a brief little vacation, and that means we're not going to be performing next week or the week after, but we will be back on January 3rd, the first Thursday in January, and it will be time for our brand new season, our winter-spring online season. We have a whole bunch of brand new online shows for you that you've never seen before. Lynn is directing a new show, wave Lynn. Eileen is directing a new show, wave Eileen. Griffin is directing a new show, wave Griffin. I'm directing a bunch of new shows. We're bringing back some old favorites. So please come on back for our new season, Thursdays at 6 and Fridays at 7. In the meantime, if you're thinking, all right, now I really am ready to take one of those improv classes. Our big slate of improv classes start up again the second week of January, January 10th. Go to synergytheater.com, look at all of our classes, take an improv class. It's a ton of fun, and we would love to get to know you. Finally, as you know, Synergy Theater is a nonprofit arts organization, and we depend very, very heavily on the generosity of our patrons and our donors to keep performing live free improvisation for you as long as we're all stuck inside together. We will be here bringing holiday cheer and good community for as long as we all need to be stuck inside together, but it is not free to us. And it would be a great help if you would go to synergytheater.com, click on Support Synergy Theater, and make any donation that you're comfortable making. Anything you can give us means a lot to us, and we really, really would value it. Everybody, please have a wonderful holiday season. Please celebrate in a safe and careful and responsible way. Please be here healthy and sound when we all get back. And please remember at all times that Synergy Theater loves you. Good night, everybody.